Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are going to be taking a look at Blackpowder's Buccaneers, as well as the Illusory Might Rivals Deck. And then also I wanted to revisit Bladeborn, and as you can see we have the Godsword Hunt and Kagra's Ravagers. And so basically during the unboxing we did for Bladeborn, I thought that the quality of the plastic was a little off in comparison to these boxes, and so I wanted to actually literally put them side by side so that way we can actually compare them and see if my memory of these kits was accurate in comparison or if they are literally exactly the same and I'm just crazy. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, the new stuff. So, with the Illusory Might, we have 12 objective cards, 10 Gambit cards, 10 upgrade cards, specifically around illusory magic and artifacts, specifically for Harrow Deep. They are universal, so they can be included in any warband decks. But you do need to have a copy of Underworlds in order to use them, which I mean pretty much goes without saying. As long as you have the core game for Underworlds, you can use any of these warbands. So we're going to go ahead and open up the deck first. Now I do like this card holder sleeve thing. It is made of basically the same material as the packaging, so it's definitely got some stiffness to it but some flexibility, and I imagine that you could probably hold your entire deck using this as a way to kind of keep it from getting all over the place. And I like that right off the bat, the deck had one of the easy to open tabs that you could pull. All right. So for Illusory Might, it gives us kind of a brief description on the card, as well as specific cards that come in the deck. And it says, the spiraling passages of Harrow Deep hide many secrets. Amidst the dripping halls, relics from bygone ages await those with the wit to find them, as do treasures abandoned in haste by more recent visitors. All is deceit in Ulgu, however, and a traveler in the labyrinth must beware the prize easily claimed. Shadow magic clings to every surface like ink, confounding the senses and obscuring the truth. What appears as a simple pebble may in fact be a potent magical curio, and what seems as a masterwork artifact is not but a trap for those who covet it. Illusions are made real, for a time at least, and trusting in your senses can prove just as deadly as the attentions of Harrow's Deep's other denizens. Now, anyone that's played Harrow Deep and really got into it, the Cruel Boys warband that came in that, I don't remember their exact warband name, but they more or less specialized in subterfuge to begin with, as a race. And so with the deck that you start out with, you had cards specific to that to kind of try to make things more difficult for your enemies and try to help you get the upper hand. Now, a great example of this is for those with the Warhammer Plus subscription. They have a Harrow Deep battle report on there, so you can watch that and you can really see how nasty the Cruel Boys can get with their underhanded tactics. Now, we're not going to go through every single card. We're just going to pick a couple at random, read them, talk about my interpretation of them, and then move on to the Buccaneers. So, starting with the Gambits. Alright. right. So we have Phantom Denial. It's a... So the reaction, play this when an opponent plays a Gambit which chooses one or more fighters. If one or more of the chosen fighters are friendly fighters with one or more illusion upgrades, discard one power card. When you do, those fighters are not chosen and the Gambit is discarded. So basically it's like dispelling a spell, but you know, for a tactic, more or less. And then we'll go with Dark Determination for the last one for the Gambits. So here's the card specifically. I like the artwork. You know, we do see one of the Cruel Boys sneaking up on one of the Fire Slayers. Surviving friendly fighters other than your leader have the assassin keyword. +1 dice to friendly assassins range 1 attack actions that target a leader, and this effect persists until the end of the phase. So basically, you know, anyone in your group that are within range, actually any that are alive and just not the leader, can then get a bonus if they're attacking the leader. So pretty straightforward there. I know that's one that I would be very interested in using, because I personally have a tendency of going more towards eliminating the other warband more than controlling objectives. And like when I play my son, he does a lot more of the objective controlling, and so he ends up winning more times than not. But my play style is like, it's a lot of fun for me to try to wipe out the other warband to basically force the victory instead of worrying about the objectives. Now, for a couple of the upgrades, we're just going to go with the very first one just because I like the artwork. It kind of looks like a picture of a Mudusai mask, but on a Maggotkin. So this is the Blood Rack Mask, and so it's an illusion. You do not spend any glory points when you play this card at the end of the action phase, or when the fighter is chosen by a Gambit or is dealt damage. Break this card. Reaction: after an enemy fighter's move action, if that enemy fighter is within 1 hex of this fighter, deal 1 damage to that fighter. So basically, you know, if you plan ahead and use it, use it kind of as a dispel. Otherwise, you can use it as a way to injure the other player. And then, like, out of all of these, I would say probably the best artwork is on False Presence, at least as far as the upgrades are concerned. This is an illusion. Do not spend any glory points when you play it. At the end of the action phase, or when a fighter is chosen by a Gambit, break this card. When this card is broken, if the fighter is on the battlefield, place this fighter in a starting hex in your territory. So basically, it's a way to, you know, teleport them, you know, clear across the map, you know, to avoid possible damage. So that one is definitely going to be beneficial for sure. Now, all that's left are the objective cards. Let's see. And picking based on the picture alone. Alright, so let's do this one, Out of Time. So it's a hybrid. Score this in an end phase if your warband holds a number of objectives equal to the round number. 2 objectives in the second phase, for example, or the number of friendly fighters in cover hexes is equal to the round number. So basically, you know, like it says, if you have the same number of fighters in cover as the round number you are, or that you have the same number of objectives as the round number, then you get this objective point. Now this one, Shock Troops, shows some goblins riding the wolves. I can't remember the name of that warband, versus some Stormcast. definitely like the scale of that, because the goblin is so small in comparison, and the wolf is pretty close to the same size as the Stormcast. And so with shock troops, you score this immediately after an activation if one or more friendly fighters hold an objective in enemy territory that has a number equal to the number of that fighter's upgrades, or one or more of the friendly fighters each have more upgrades than there are surviving enemy fighters. So basically, you want to, if you're going to use this card, you want to stack as many upgrades on, one character as you can, just to kind of, put things in your favor there. All right, now for Blackpowder's Buccaneers. When this was first announced, I absolutely loved the look of the model. When they were teasing us beforehand, here it is. When they were teasing it beforehand, it was, they really only were showing the monkey and the parrot, and kind of used that alone to tease it. Now, we do have 2 Sprues, and the Ogor, his base, we're used to Underworld bases, having a lot of extra detail right off the bat for you. But this one really stands out. I don't know how well you can see that there. But besides the bases, this model in particular has a ton of detail. It's interesting to see him having an actual gun, because typically Ogors are going to be more along the lines of kind of brute weapons. So seeing the sword makes sense that he's using, but the gun is kind of surprising. I know it's more thematic than anything else, but and it really just completes the look for him. But canonically, it doesn't really fit with most Ogors. So I'm hoping that we're going to get some sort of background story on this guy. I know that there is the Harrowdeep book available for pre-order currently, and hopefully in there they might have a story about him to explain, either how he got the gun or more details about him. Now, this other sprue, we do have a lot of detail on the base, but obviously it's a huge contrast in comparison to the Ogor, but also they're much smaller bases. See how, hopefully you guys can see that there. And now looking at it, let's see, is that a goblin on that one? Actually, no, that's looks like a piece of machinery, maybe for the gun. But looking at it, we have, looks like 2 grots or goblins without a head. Oh, here it is. So one is attached to the sword because of the pose, and the other one's just a head by itself. And then we have the monkey, and then the parrot. Now, the parrot obviously, has more detail than almost any other model on this sprue for sure. Basically second only to the bases. And then, the big sword that we have for the Ogor, a lot of good detail there. I love the attention to detail that GW puts into their miniatures, and I think the concept of what they've been doing for Underworlds in general has just been fantastic. I love these small warbands. You get a lot of character, a lot of flavor, and you can get just one of these small boxes and play a faction that you never played before, and kind of also be a starting off point. So definitely really enjoy that aspect of Underworlds, but it definitely seems like the availability of some of the warbands might just be a little too scarce, because like with Night Vault, for example, most of those minis, if you can find them, you're only going to really find them from other retailers, where when you're in the middle of a specific release section for Harrow Deep, so those ones are going to be easiest to find. They're going to be more plentiful. And then the previous ones, while they're still popular and still, I see a lot of people looking for them, like Godsword Hunt, for example. The only reason I got that was I got it for Christmas. And that's because my dad ordered it through Amazon last year. And the others, picked up when they're available, because you never know which ones are going to sell out and be hard to find. Now, as always with any new kit you have for Underworlds, it does give you a full deck to work with already right off the bat, and then you can obviously mix and match some of the cards to give you what you want. Now, I do really like the fact that based on the artwork alone, you're not getting just this one faction's artwork. So, like as an example, we have right here one of the Cruel Boys. Most of them will fit the faction. Like this one right here is one of the Stormcast from the actual warband that comes in Harrow Deep. Here we have the Skaven in an upgrade picture. So you have a lot of variety in images, so it's not just centered on one thing, so it definitely helps keep things fresh. Now, I really like the artwork in general. That's one of my favorite things about the cards. And then, so there's a little disclaimer in the deck. It says, additional cards, this pack includes extra Universal and Grand Alliance objective cards and power cards that you can use to construct decks for your warband. To learn more, go to the Underworlds website. Okay, so that's just basically a reminder that some of these cards can be used outside of this specific warband, and that you can mix and match other cards in here, like we already talked about, to fine tune your deck. Now, so here's one of the specific Gambits that's in this box. So, like as we can see in the picture, it's some Ideneth on there, and so the Gambit is land grab. Now, before I actually start reading that, I don't remember there ever actually being an Ideneth. Actually, nope, I'm wrong. There has been, because I forgot about the crab that they did last year. So, scratch that. So, with land grab, it's a maneuver. You push up to 2 friendly fighters, up to 2 hexes. After each push, that fighter must be in no one's territory. Victory often goes to the swiftest. So basically, it's a way to move them either closer to their target or further away from like an opponent as a way to get away. So that's definitely gonna be handy. Now, typically when I play, I only play with the deck that comes for each warband and use them with that warband. Now, like we have some of the cards where we see some symbols in them, like in the upper right hand corner. This one has some teeth, and so I believe that's for a destruction warband. So this is Playful Shake. Play this after a friendly beast's range 1 attack. If the target is adjacent, deal 1 damage to the target, then push the target 1 hex. And then there's a quote at the bottom that says, put him down, you don't know where he's been. And then we have some, like the one we looked at before for land grab. We have the symbol of the sun, which I believe is for order. And then we have chaos and then undead. But otherwise, these are specific to this deck. And then we have our objective cards, which we're going to open up next. And then, so the description is the man-eater Gorlak Blackpowder made his reputation roaming the penumbral sea and plundering ships wherever he went, ever accompanied by a retinue of hangers-on. Sailing under a dark moon, Blackpowder's ship was dragged beneath the waves by a sucking whirlpool, and the motley crew found themselves washed up in Harrow Deep. They soon realized the ancient labyrinth offered a chance to seize greater treasures than their former hunting grounds could provide, while the man-eater sought out worthy adversaries to add to his boasting tally. His crew proceeded to loot everything they could get their hands or claws or beak on. Now, with each character card, we have both the regular version and then the inspired version. And I always thought that was a great way of discerning between the two without having both their abilities on the same page or same card. Well, the same side of the same card rather. So that way, you're less likely to have confusion. So it looks like Gorlak becomes inspired once you discard your second or subsequent swag counter. And then, so like with ammo, the fighter cannot make this attack action unless you first discard one swag counter, and at the start of the game, gain one swag counter. Now, when it says at the start of the game, it sounds like you're just getting one swag counter, and then you turn it over once you've reloaded. Now, once inspired, this fighter cannot make this attack action unless you first discard one or two swag counters. If you discard two swag counters, this attack action has ensnare. So there's going to be different ways that you're going to get swag counters, clearly. And I don't remember those from the main game itself. So definitely looking forward to actually learning more about that. It's been a little bit since we played the game, so could just be that I'm drawing a total blank on them. And then we have more gambits, more upgrades, and then more objectives. And most of the artwork for the objectives are centered around this warband. Looks like there's literally only one that doesn't feature somebody in the warband, and that's who was that? Oh yeah, it was one of the Stormcast. And actually, let me double check. Okay, so I was mistaken because I was just sliding through him real quick. It is a Stormcast, but draped over the Ogor's shoulder, so he's basically carrying him off. So again, I'm a huge fan of the artwork on the cards, so that's always one of my favorite things about opening a new Undergrounds warband. Then we have, lastly, a little divider to kind of protect your cards, and then we also have our assembly booklet. Now it's a total of 3 tiny pages, most of which you can, just looking at the pieces, see exactly how they're going to go together for the most part. With the Ogor himself, there's a couple pieces that you put on together that are not nearly so obvious, but most of them are quite obvious as far as how they go. Like, obviously the monkey, there's only 2 pieces to him, so one half a monkey, the other's half a monkey, you put them together and you have the whole monkey. So things like that. And then set this over here. And so one thing we're going to do a little bit differently with this week, I do see everybody's comments, and I definitely want to improve the show as we go along. And so it's come up more than once where you guys are asking to see the models in more detail. So I've actually downloaded a editing software that we're going to use as of tonight for the first time, and take a little bit of video of the models a little bit closer, that way, I can control the camera on them, and since with the way we have it set up right now, I can't see if it focuses on these models or not, because I don't have the screen pointed at me. So because basically with that, I want to make sure that you guys are reading the right direction. Otherwise, things look a little weird, especially like when I'm holding up like one of the boxes. If you're reading this backwards, it's gonna be more difficult to get the name right. So we're definitely gonna try that out tonight. So something to look forward to, which is why I'm not putting these away while I'm talking. Now, so we already have, like I said, Godsworn Hunt and Kagra's Ravagers, which are the two ward bands that come in Bladeborn. Now, we're going to go ahead and open up the Ravagers to compare side by side, which they are going to be the exact same sprues as far as what's on them. And then we will compare them next to each other. And see if my memory was correct. All right. So my memory was that the plastic kind of looked and felt like it was a little bit thicker, like there was a little bit less detail. Now they are the exact same scale, so that's good. Now, looking at them, so far everything looks exactly the same. So I stand corrected. I do apologize for that, because when I was going through it, like my memory of the models was that these were very different from the quality that we got with the actual warbands. And let's see, just comparing against Godsworn Hunt there as well. I mean, really the only difference I can see from with the details, the textures, everything, they feel exactly the same. They're flimsy in the same spots. They're nice and thick, sturdy, and the same. And I'm not seeing any detail that's one on one and not the other. So yeah, I was definitely wrong about how good the quality is. So I do apologize there. And so that means that if you pick up Bladeborn, you're going to get the models for both these warbands plus the cards to use both warbands in Warcry as well, which is huge. It's something I'm very excited about. It was actually the main reason I was interested in Bladeborn. Well, two main reasons: that, and I wanted to take the leader for the Godsworn Hunt and her dog and basically put them on one base together to replace the Dark Oath War Queen that I had planned for my army, and since I already have two of this warband. So again, I was mistaken about the quality. They are exactly the same in every way that I can see. Obviously, if we maybe cut in half, we might see something a little bit different, but we're not going to saw these things in half just to break it and say definitively which, if they are truly the same or not. But to the naked eye, by touch, feel, sight, they are exactly the same. So if you are able to get up a copy of Bladeborn, I would highly recommend it because of the models alone and the cards. The game itself is a great play. We used proxies for doing it, but definitely some cool stuff there. Now, as far as this goes, that is it for this week. Next week we will have some other unboxings to go through. All right, so here are the actual sprues for Blackpowder's Buccaneers. And then, so like I was saying right here, you know, we have all of this detail on the base, but you know, he still has a lot of detail, like the stitching, you know, the chain on his sleeve, you know, even his little kind of mini treasure chest, you know, you even see the wood markings. And you know, anytime that there's always been some rope, they're always real good about, you know, making the individual bands on it. Now what kind of surprised me is with the monkey, you know, having it in two pieces like this, when they could have easily just made it one on the sprue, maybe either had room for something else, or done something else entirely. Now, you know, the wings, we have a lot of detail there. And let's see, I'm not actually seeing the head to the bird, because right here we have one goblin head, another goblin head. Actually, yeah, that's a goblin head. Oh, there it is. And so then there's its perch, which is part of the bone that's going to go right here. There's more to it than what I thought, so I was expecting just a head like these, and so there's a little bit more, so that's why it didn't stand out. Now, with what I was saying about comparing the Karagraz Ravagers, these are the ones from the actual Warband box from Dire Chasm, and then this is the sprue that came in Bladeborn by comparison. And I mean, as you can see side by side, they look absolutely identical, except for this one has been clipped right here to separate the two sprues so that would fit in the box. But that is it for tonight. Thank you guys all for watching, and I hope you have a great night. Thank you.